Yes, that's right. It's Joe here live for Joyrider TV, back with some more scintillating Q&A, where I am going to be doing my best to answer your most challenging catamaran sailing questions. Oh yes, if you haven't seen one of these Q&A sessions before, I generally do these every Friday live at 6:30 Greek time, but if you have got any catamaran sailing questions and you're not able to make it to the live at the time when it's live, don't worry, you can watch it afterwards, and any questions you can just put in the comments and I will respond to your questions in the following week's session. Hope that makes sense. Oh yes. Yes, so what is hot? Yes, the sun has come out here on the Greek island, which makes me feel that it's not going to be too long until Joyrider TV is back out on the water with a wide variety of videos coming very soon. Hopefully I'll have quite a few in the bank by the end of March. And then in April, I'm going to be going to Holland, where I'm going to be hanging out with the guys at Nacra for a week or so, and testing the whole range of Nacra catamarans. So perhaps if you are in Holland, or perhaps on the west side of Germany, or the north side of Belgium, or in Luxembourg, or somewhere close by, and you think it would be quite cool to do some sort of meetup, hangout kind of thing in Holland, let me know, and we can put something together for while I'm there. Maybe a Joyrider TV evening with. Wouldn't that be fun? I don't know, but we can see what we can do. Yeah, so that is the things that are in the pipeline the most immediately. Also, sun has come out. Speed stick is looking quick. Yes, there's an all new look speed stick at totaljoyrider.com. So if you haven't visited that yet, I would strongly recommend having a look. And if you are lucky enough to be able to be getting out on the water, perhaps even this weekend, then why not take with you a GPS device, telephone in a dry bag, and running any app at all. I think the favorites are Water Speed if you're an iOS iPhone user, or there's this other one which I'm just going to show you, which is called Sail Free GPS, which is for all types of phone, and it gives you everything you need, and it's free. It's called Sail Free GPS. So that is a good one. That will give you a reasonable degree of accuracy. I used to recommend Strava, but I find with Strava it's not the most accurate. You get some weird spikes on Strava, which is quite nice if you want to be able to lay out a claim of a big speed. Strava is more likely to give you that weird GPS spike that gives you an extra 4 knots than anything else. So there you go. It's all accepted on the speed stick. I just see that Ryan is on board in Maui. All right, Ryan, nice to have you with us. I'm just skipping to your comment about Water Speed. Yeah, the guys at Water Speed have been in touch, and they said that the Android version is very close. It's kind of like it's at the door, ready to go out of the door and into the open. I think they're just doing some beta testing at the moment. I think that's what it's called. I think that's when they get a number of people to test it to make sure it works properly before setting it loose as a general release. So yes, water speed Android version coming very soon. So exciting times there, because I would have to say that water speed is exactly what we're looking for. It does everything that we need. There you go. So I think to buck the trend of previous Q&As, I am going to check in with everybody who's checking in so far. Already we've got Cucks Ollie. He's first off the start line. I greet you and all Catamaran sailors. Have a great time. Looking forward to the Q&A. Yes, great to have you with us, Ollie. In Germany, I believe, Mr. Tony KP is with us in Ebeltoft, Denmark. We've got Extraordinary Horizons. Great to see you're on. Yes, I'm on. Yeah, sorry, I do miss the occasional Friday, but I think largely I am pretty consistent, I like to think. All right, Hanny is with us. Hanny, of course, in Amsterdam, channel member. Yeah. You too could become a channel member. Oh, yeah. If you're a channel member, incidentally, one of the perks of being a channel member is you get all of the videos before non-channel members. I was going to say before anyone else, but other channel members could get it the same time as you. Basically, as soon as it's uploaded, channel members get access to the videos, whereas I do put a planned launch time for every video. It's what YouTube recommends to be strategic. Where are you going in Holland? Yeah, I think I'm going somewhere in the region of Scheveningen. Yeah, so anything's possible, Hanny. We can certainly arrange a meetup while I'm there. My plans at the moment are pretty unplanned, but in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to get more organized and know what I am doing. All right, so channel member Ryan says, good morning to the Joyriders from the Hawaiian Kingdom in the midst of the Pacific. Excited about the Nacra visit. Yeah, me too. I think the whole range of Nacras look very exciting, from like the training boats all the way through to the foiling race boats. Foiling race boats, woohoo! That could be a toe curler. Let's hope so. Right, Kevin's with us somewhere in deepest, darkest Illinois, I believe. Hello, everybody. Almost time to sail. Oh, yes. All right, Stephen's on board. An early question. All right, Stephen, I believe, would be Grapham Water in the UK, one of the best lakes reservoirs to sail on in the UK. Very good wind. All right, flying a hull training. Which boat is best for learning, with or without daggers? Does any of it matter? Just practice, maybe getting better at it. Yeah, I think what's nice for practicing flying a hull is a good power to weight ratio. And I think, especially if you're single-handed, I'm sorry to say this to anybody who's not a fan, but the Hobie 16 is a great boat for practicing flying the hull, because you don't need that much wind to get the hull out of the water. I would say about 7-8 knots of breeze, and you should be able to pop the hull out and keep it there for a very long time. Because the thing with the 16 is the hulls are relatively light, so you're not kind of fighting against the weight of the hulls. Whereas a boat, you know, if we go to the far end of the scale, a Tornado for flying the hull practice, yes, you would need, unless you're single-handed, you would need a bit more wind, just because the hulls are that much bigger, they weigh more. Granted, you've got more power in the rig, But yeah, you would need a bit more wind to fly the hull on a tornado. And this is actually going to be touching on a question that we've got later on. The width of the tornado, once you are flying a hull on a boat like that, 3 meters wide, it is a bit easier to keep it dialed in at exactly the angle that you want because of that width. With the wider boat, it's going to respond much more slowly than the narrower boat, which is going to be much more kind of twitchy when it comes to flying the hull. So if you want it easier and you've got access to a tornado or anything else which is wide, like an F-18 at 2 meters 60, bit wider than a Hobie 16, a bit wider than a Minicat, which is quite narrow, or a small boat. Yeah, so the wider the boat, the kind of easier it is to keep the angle constant. But I think the Hobie 16, because it is quite twitchy, it is really good for practicing on. So there we go. That is what I believe. Something similar would be to practice flying the hull on a Dart 18. That would be really good practice, or a Dart 15. Just, you know, for most people, you've got one boat and that's the one you're going to use. So so there we are. Thanks for your question, Stephen. Hope you're doing well. We got Bobby on board. What is your recommendation? Best recommendation for a watch that could be used for course and speed? Yeah, that is for speed. That's pretty easy. You could get like a dedicated GPS watch, like something from the Garmin range. There's so many GPS watches out there that I've actually lost touch a little bit since I started using an Apple Watch. That's what the time is here, by the way. I started using an Apple Watch, which I've got the water speed app running on, and that works absolutely fine with the smart. And you can pair like you can, is it pairing or downloading? You can download the water speed app on any smartwatch, pretty much, I believe. And then that means you don't even need to take your phone with you. So I'm very happy with how the Apple Watch is working in the speed tracking. But yeah, my favorite was the Locosys GW60, which maybe if I stick my hand over here, I can. Oh no, this is before the GW60, the Timex Global timer GPS, which really like this one as well. These are discontinued, but you might be able to find one of these on eBay or something similar for about 50 units of currency, and that is a good GPS for just telling you how fast you've gone. This is the Locosys, but unfortunately, the Locosys more expensive and prone to the charger failing. So my GW60 is now not working anymore, and this is the second one that I had. So I'm happy with the smartwatch. Yeah, so that is what I reckon. For direction, smartwatch, again, you could just get a compass app on the smartwatch, and I think that is going to be all that you need. Now, what else was I going to say? Yeah, so quite exciting also is there's a smartwatch manufacturer who has reached out to me, and so I'm going to be reviewing a cost-effective option, which is going to be coming pretty soon. So I'll obviously let you know when that is happening. Thanks very much for your question, Bobby. And we've got Ryan on board, who is got in there with first super sticker of the day. Thanks very much, Ryan. Love your channel. Got a wild hair to start sailing. Got a Hobie Bravo in November. Yes. With my little brother. And by January, we also got a 16. Took it out for the first time on Sunday. No prior experience, just your channel, and we had a blast. Very nice. Thanks, Ryan. That is absolutely great that you have grabbed Catamaran sailing by the horns and you are absolutely sending it already. This is great. Yeah, Ryan, maybe just let us know where it is that you're sailing. I think we all like to know where we all are. But thanks very much for the super sticker. It's a great way of showing that you appreciate all of the good work that's coming out of Joyrider TV. Love it. All right. So we got Jochen in Hamburg. All right, Jochen, nice to have you with us. Oh, Ryan is Indian River Lagoon in Melbourne, Florida. There you go. I believe there's quite a lot of the Joyrider TV community in that sort of area. So, you know, it's the sort of thing that we should have some sort of, I don't know, some way. I know we've got the Discord server where we can get in touch with other Joyrider TV like viewers, community members, let's say. But to have some sort of like, who is in Melbourne, Florida, you know, that would be nice to know, wouldn't it? And then so when you see another boat out, you'd go, oh, that must be Jim. Must be. That sort of thing. Wouldn't that be nice? All right, so continuing. Nathan says, ever sailed in Holland? Yes, I have. I've done a few events in Holland, actually. I have done the biggest catamaran race in the world, round Texel, as we call it in the UK, which I believe you would pronounce as Texel. Very nice. I also competed in a, what was it? I think it was a Hobie Tiger European Championships, which was in Katwijk on Sea. And I think that's the only 2 times I actually sailed in Holland. I've never sailed on any of the inland waterways. And I'm kind of thinking for the Nacra sailing, sailing on the IJsselmeer or one of the inland waterways might be more appropriate for kind of like just having more of a constant conditions to work with, whereas sailing on the sea, you've then got the tide, much more tide to work with, and waves, which could make the sort of testing less scientific, if you like. Not that anything on Joyrider TV up to as of now has been scientific, but there we go. All right, so all right, continuing, we've got Max on board in from Rosenheim, Germany. It's saying the wind has dropped at Lake Simsey, so I'm almost just in time. Very nice to have you with us, Max. Mark and Janet in Ohio are on board. Is there a wind speed that you would not recommend sailing? Yeah, I think it is different for everyone, and one of the things that I'm guessing that we're talking upper limit rather than like 0 knots of wind. 0 knots of wind, as long as you're not, as long as there's no current, you know, it could be nice to sit on the boat. And in fact, if you saw any of my videos from Egypt, in the very light wind, it's actually really satisfying to get your boat moving when the wind is super light. It kind of makes you feel that you've really got a good handle on getting the most out of the boat and the wind. But upper wind limit depends on how the wind affects the sea state in the location where you are to a certain degree. Like in the real world on the coast, probably 25 knots is getting close to a safe limit unless you've got some sort of support boat out there in case things go wrong. But on in a flat water venue, again, above 25 knots, you really want to have some sort of support to help if things go wrong. But flat water venue like here where I sail in Vasiliki Bay, I would say sort of 30, mid 30s. It's flipping hard. It's emotional. It is frightening. It's you've got a lot on, but it's kind of doable. Again, depending on the type of boat as well, level of experience. But I think for most people, 25 is getting close to the limit. All right. So Bobby says, oh, I use water speed, you say. You say I don't need to carry the phone with me. Not if you've, because actually on the smart watch, let's see if I can just can I? Come on. All right. Still quite on the smart watch. There is actually a water speed app for the smartwatch, and it's actually how I discovered water speed in the first place. I'd got the smartwatch, wanted to see get a GPS app, so I searched for one, and it was the first one that I found, and it just happened to be the right one. There we go. Sunset Wingman, hello, great to have you with us as always. On the Garmin watches, there's a Race Q+S or Race Q's sailing app, and another app just called Sailing that gives you speed, compass, tack angles, tacking, etc. There we go. That would be, yeah, I haven't got a Garmin watch. Okay, that is a hold up for me on that one. But perhaps when I get the next smartwatch, that'll be an Android one, I believe. Not entirely. Smartwatches, Android, iOS, is that how they work? Yeah, I should really find out. Yeah, it'd be good to try. All right. Ryan says full-time YouTuber. Aha. And resisting the urge to change my content because it's a blast on the catamarans. Yes, it is. All right, we got Rob on board. All right. Hey man, I'm thinking of buying land in Vasiliki. What is your opinion? Is it livable full time? And just continuing, and how would people of Lefkada reject it? Became a Marbella with Spanish villas, react to it. Yeah, I think yes, definitely. Yeah, because I've very much settled on the island of Lefkada, Lefkas, Greece, and it works the difficulty is, of course, the language, and I think living anywhere, there's bits of paperwork, hoops you have to jump through, that kind of thing. But I think what the local people really respect is people who buy property here and then live in it, rather than buy property and it sits empty except for 4 weeks of the year, or people who buy property and then it's like Airbnb or something with people coming and going all of the time, a lot of strangers. Whereas the local people, I think they really appreciate just having people in the community who are actually sort of adding to the community, adding something rather than just kind of like just using the place as a means of making money and occasionally popping out. So yes, I think it's a great place to live, great place to buy a house, settle down, good sailing, very good lifestyle, very chilled out. Yeah, very nice. I would strongly recommend it. So that is a great question, Rob. And yeah, if you want to get in touch, then do feel free to send me an email and I could perhaps go into a bit more detail. All right. At this time, let's have a look at our first preloaded question. And this one is coming from Leo, who is in Holland and is a tornado sailor. And all right, so Leo's first question. This could run pretty deep. All right. So when you sail upwind in wind force 4, after attack, is it useful to let the Cunningham off or downhaul for better acceleration and then put the Cunningham or downhaul, same thing, back on when you've got the speed up? The same question goes for the start of a regatta, like a plane taking off with the flaps of the wings out. Yes. So for those of you who this sounds like a foreign language to, the downhaul or the Cunningham of the sail, if this is our mast, here's the sail. So the downhaul, as the title suggests, it puts tension into the front edge of the sail. So we're pulling down on the front edge of the sail. And what happens, like the story of the downhaul is, if the profile of the sail, with if we were to look straight down it with no downhaul on at all, it would kind of look like that, very flat, sort of creased up, no shape at all. And then as we pull the downhaul on, we get to a minimum downhaul setting, and that is when we get a nice curve in the sail. That's when we get the most curve, when we get to our minimum point. And we'll know when the minimum point is because all these little horizontal creases in the sail will come out. And when you've got no horizontal creases back in, left in the sail, that is our minimum amount of downhaul that we want to have on. So what's a good idea is, on your own boat, take a bit of tape, and when your boat is on land, just before you go sailing, for example, just put the downhaul on and have a look at the sail and work out what your minimum downhaul setting is, and then put a bit of tape on the mast level with the bottom of the sail, or if you've got a boom, maybe with the boom, just so that you know what your minimum setting is, and then you'll know that's your minimum setting. And then as we bring the downhaul on more, what's going to happen, if this is the mast end, is the curve in the sail is going to move further forwards, but the majority of the sail is going to become flatter. So as well as it moving forwards, it's going to move down as well, the deepest part of the sail. And what this is good for is when the wind is getting stronger, we want the curve in the sail to be lower down and further forwards, so that the center of effort, the deepest part of the sail, is kind of like here, because we don't want a load of curve in the top of the sail, because all that is going to serve to do is to lift the hull. And we don't, you know, lifting the hull is very cool. And if you're practicing flying the hull like Stephen at Grapham, then yes. But if you want to get your boat going as fast as possible, especially on an upwind course, then we want to have that drive forwards. And if you kind of imagine that the drive in the sail is perpendicular to the deepest part. So here, the drive in the sail would be this way, whereas here, it would be this way. So the pull in the sail would be taking us that way. So as we put more downhaul on, that's getting more forwards. So when the wind is strong, we've got the downhaul pulled on hard, then that is going to be propelling us the most forwards. Now, you may say, so in less wind, why don't we pull the downhaul harder to get our center of effort further forwards? Because in the lighter winds, we want to generate more power by having more curve in the sail. So if you really did have all of the choice in the world, then what we could do to alter this further would actually be to modify the battens somewhat, where you have them a bit softer at the front and then stiffer at the back, because the softer the battens are, the more they're going to bend. So that will put more bend forwards and flatter further back. All right, I hope this is making sense. So Leo's question is, if we've been sailing with the downhaul full on and we tack, as we know, coming out of the tack, our speed is going to be right down. So we can create more lift at lower speed by having more curve. So in theory, yes, coming out of attack, ease the downhaul to the minimum setting, get maximum curve in the sail for that maximum lift to get us back up to the speed that much quicker, and then wind the downhaul on as the speed increases to come out of the tack. So in theory, that would be, I think, the most efficient, but in practice, not the most efficient, because in this sort of wind, what is going to be more efficient is, let's say we are sailing a double-handed boat, then the crew, who, let's assume the crew is the downhaul operator, if it's windy enough to get the downhaul on full, we're going to benefit much more by having the crew out on the trapeze as soon as possible, rather than the crew trimming the downhaul through the tack. So in theory, yes. In practice, no. Does that make sense? Gosh, I hope so. All right, so just Rob has added a bit to the downhaul chat in the live chat. He says the downhaul also bends the mast. Does that also have an effect, meaning the top of the mast is more towards the rear? I've never thought of it like that, but yeah, the downhaul does bend the mast, which helps to flatten the sail. So the way we get the most shape into the sail is for the mast to be more straight, and the front edge of the mainsail is generally cut with a curve in it, very subtle curve. So by putting that curved edge up against the straight edge, that puts loads of curve into the sail. Bit like if you make a cone, something like that. So when we bend the mast, then that allows us to get the sail flatter, which is why on a lot of performance boats, we actually have a bit of pre-bend in the mast set as like a starting point. And that is, the pre-bend is then optimal to the amount of curve that's cut into the front edge of the sail. But back top of the mast towards the back, does that make a difference? I wouldn't maybe not. I'm not sure. I'd have to ask someone from the science department or actually have a look at it and scratch my head a bit. Yeah. All right. So jumping in, Ryan with a super sticker. Thanks very much, Ryan. Very kind of you to chip in to the cause. Happy to contribute to such an awesome channel through being a channel member. All right. Yeah, Ryan's hitting us with the triple. Ryan is a channel member. He buys merch from totaljoyrider.com, the website, where I do believe that the Joyrider TV t-shirt is now available. Now, when I say I do believe, that makes it sound like somebody else is responsible for it. But no, just let it be known that everything at totaljoyrider.com or Joyrider TV, it's all me. Nobody else is involved. Yes, I did have a bit of help in refurbing the website, but all of the designs on the t-shirts, I do all that as well. So just so you know that if you are supporting the channel, then you really are supporting the channel and not some sort of multinational empire where there's a board of directors and shareholders and that sort of thing, if that makes sense. Thanks, Ryan. Very nice. Yeah, so yeah, there we go. I think that is pretty much where we are. And then with having the Cunningham eased for the start of a race, yes, because at the start of a race, the crew shouldn't be having to cross the boat. So the crew can already be hooked into the trapeze. And generally, we're starting to get the boat up to speed at about, depending on the wind strength, like in a strong wind, probably at about 10 seconds to go. So it'd be 10 seconds to go, crew starts eking out onto the trapeze, and you want a load of power just before the start so you can really get as much height and speed as possible. So to have more curve at that point is really going to be useful. And then as soon as you hit the line, then we're going to start going for speed, which means pulling the Cunningham on, the downhaul on, and we're going flat out at that point. But then if everybody else is doing that, then that's going to be an exciting time. All right. Nice. So Leo in Holland, Tornado Sailor, who brought up that question, has brought up question number 2, which is when the Spinnaker collapses, do you steer up or down? Okay, this is going to be a bit more straightforward. So wind coming straight down the board, this would be our general direction that we're sailing with the Spinnaker up. And as, let's say, as we know, the crew's job with the Spinnaker is to be pretty constantly trimming it, easing it out when the front edge, when the front edge starts to curl, then just bringing it back in, and then easing it out so it curls, bringing it back in, easing it out so it curls, bringing it back in, like that. So we know that the Spinnaker is sheeted correctly. Now, what could cause the Spinnaker to collapse? One of the most common causes, let's say if you're sailing in a straight line, which you're trying to do, yes, we're steering a little bit to control the power, So if we get too much power, we steer more down. If we want more power, we steer more up. But if we don't need to, we are really trying to keep the amount of steering that we're doing to a minimum. So we're trying to keep the boat going in a straight line. So sometimes, you know, especially when you're not on the race course, when you're just sailing for fun, for speed, you might be sailing too close to the wind, because that is going to make you feel like you're powering up the Spinnaker the most, because that's what you're doing. And if you're sailing too close to the wind, then as you increase speed, all right, let's see if we can illustrate this maybe. All right, let's so if you're sailing close to the wind, let's say our apparent wind, the wind that we're steering to, I'm just assuming that we know what apparent wind is at this stage. If we don't, someone put it in the live chat and I'll explain it. But our apparent wind would be coming from here. Now, as we start going faster, the apparent wind is going to start coming more from in front of the boat. And we're going to get to a stage where the crew can't sheet the Spinnaker in anymore, because it's already in as tight as it will go. And that might cause the Spinnaker to flap. And the only thing we can do there is to alter our course and go more downwind. Okay, so that's stage one. What to do if the Spinnaker collapses? That's more like if the Spinnaker flaps and the crew is trimming it correctly. But another reason for the Spinnaker flapping is we're flying down here. And as we know, there are generally variations in the wind, strength and direction. And if we sail into, let's say we're coming out of a gust. This is a gust that we've been sailing in. Very nice. Thank you very much. And we're coming out of the gust. So the actual wind strength is dropping down. And then what that means is we're still going to have the speed as we come out of the gust. So our apparent wind is going to go from here, because the apparent wind, let's draw, we've got the true wind, which is here, the induced wind, which is here. So, which is giving us this apparent wind halfway in between. And then as we come out of this gust, we've still got this induced wind, which, you know, we might, let's say we're traveling at 20 knots. We're going fast, but the true wind has now eased right off. So that's small. So the apparent wind is going to come much more round to the front, and that is going to cause the Spinnaker to flog or flap, which means two actions we can take there. One is for the crew to sheet it in, and the other is to steer more downwind. But what we're trying to do is keep the steering to a minimum. So if it's possible, the best thing is for the crew to sheet in, and after a second, or let's say maximum 5 seconds of going into this area of less wind, then the boat's speed will equalize with the wind strength a little bit, which means you only need to sheet it in tight for a few seconds and then ease it out again, because otherwise we risk being oversheeted. Okay, there we go. That is where I'm going to leave that. And back into the live chat. Yes. Oh, we've got Bernhard on board in Austria. Great stuff. Great to have you with us, Bernhard. 1 month and we get the Hobies out. Yes. It really is in the Northern Hemisphere. is a very hopeful time of the year, because what I've noticed here in Greece is, I'm sure it's the same everywhere actually, but the amount of daylight in the day, you can almost feel it getting longer every single day, and it just makes you feel so optimistic that we're coming out of the dark and into the light and onto the water, out off the mountain and into the water. Yes, good time of year. All right, we got Benjamin on board in the live chat. When flying, the hull becomes sketchy due to wind gust, for example. In addition to releasing the main, do you steer up into the wind as well? Yes. If all right. Very good question, Benjamin. Thank you for joining live. Thanks to everyone for joining live, by the way. If you are joining live, or if you're joining later on, if you could just hit the like button, that just means that YouTube will then present this to more people later, and more people will get to get the benefit of this great information that is being delivered. Okay, so yeah, let's say you're sailing upwind. Two types of gust. One type of gust is the smaller, steadier type of gust. So if you're getting this smaller, steadier type of gust, how to deal with it, then if you're sailing upwind, and especially if you're sailing upwind on a course, so we're trying to get to a windward objective, then if you can control the power just by heading the boat up towards the wind, but without losing any speed, then that is going to be our best line of attack. So if we can head up just a small amount very smoothly, what we're trying not to do with the steering for the gusts is to give it loads and the boat feels really unstable. What we're trying to do is, here we go, let's take the office hands, Dave 16, no rig today. As the hull lifts, we just want to gently head up into the wind, because that's going to get us to our windward objective sooner, which is what we want to do. So hull lifts, head up into the wind, and if the hull starts coming down again, then you can very gently just start coming back away from the wind, because what we're trying to do is sail with the hull just out of the water. So here we go, coming along, hull's lifting, we head up, hull starts coming down, we bear away, and so on, but making the steering as subtle as possible. Now, this takes practice. What I think most people do, if they're steering for the gusts, as you're getting used to it, is you're going to overcompensate a fair bit, which is going to make it, if you're sailing a double-handed boat and the crew is out on the trapeze, it's going to make the crew feel a little bit like, whoa. So you could actually ask the crew for feedback after a gust, or they might give you feedback at the time. They might say, whoa, oh my, you know, they might say, could you calm down a bit, please, at the back? Because they're going to be affected by your changes of direction. All right, so second type of gust, stronger. If you're sailing into a stronger gust, then what we want to do, so how do we know it's a stronger gust? The stronger gust is going to mean if all that we did was steer the boat to manage the gust, the boat would start to slow down. We'd have to sail so close into the wind to get the hull to come down that the boat would start slowing down. Now, we don't want to do that. So in these bigger gusts, what we want to do is use a combination of main sheet and steering. So we're just going to ease out, like maybe as little as an armful, one arm of main sheet, and at the same time, this takes practice, by the way. At the same time, you don't even have to head up. You just have to allow the boat to come up into the wind, because it will naturally want to sail up into the wind. So we're using a combination of main sheet and steering to control it in the gusts. But what's good as an exercise is perhaps just go, all right, for the next couple of minutes, we're only going to steer for the gusts, even if it means slowing down. And then, so do that maybe on a timer, and then go, all right, next 5 minutes, we're only going to respond to the gusts by sheeting out. Yeah, so that's going to get you used to the effect that it has, the main sheet compared to the steering. Now, with the with all of this, if you feel that you're having to sheet out all of the time, like the wind has generally got stronger, and you're just having to sheet out all of the time, and you're sailing the boat close to the wind, then first thing, like we were saying before, get the downhaul on tight as you can, and then a bit more. Really crank the downhaul on. That's going to make a huge difference. And then the other thing you can do, if you're sailing along and you're constantly feeling like you have too much power, ease the traveler out a little bit. Think of the traveler like changing gears. So as the wind gets to the next level and you feel like you're constantly having to either sheet out, or you're constantly having to sail the boat so high to the wind that you're going really slowly, ease the traveler out just a little bit, makes a huge difference. Third way you can address this is if you're sailing a boat which has dagger boards that go up and down, not pivoting center boards, because they work differently. But if you have dagger boards, lift a little bit of dagger board, like about that much above the deck. And what that will do is, if you think of your dagger board in the same way as you think of your sail, if we reduce the area of dagger board that is in the water, it's going to have less, let's say it's going to have less power, which in the terms of a dagger board, it's going to have less resistance. And that is going to help take a bit of the edge off the wind, off the gusts. The boat isn't going to respond quite as erratically. Like if it's really windy or really gusty, and you keep your dagger boards all the way down, the boat might feel really jumpy. That's upwind reaching downwind. Lifting the dagger boards is going to help to calm the boat down. There we go. It's true. So yeah, combination main sheet and steering. But if it doesn't require them, if you can steer the boat for the gust without losing speed, just the steering is fine. But the crew will let you know if you're steering too fast and too hard. All right, thanks very much for your question, Benjamin. Very good. Yeah, Bernard says when the Spinnaker collapses, the wind might have stopped. Yes, that was where we came to with that one. All right, Jens is on board. Hello, Jens. Great to have you with us in the live chat. Channel member Jens, and Jens has appeared on more of the thumbnail pictures for the live Q&A than anybody else, I believe. So very good. All right, how to set up the jib on a Tiger for big speeds to avoid sticking the nose in. To set up the jib. Ooh. Yes. What would you do? Yeah. So with the jib, let's say there's 3 ways that we can alter how the jib is set up, which is going to make a difference to the performance. So our jib is a little bit out of shape, but it's okay. So one thing we can do to adjust the jib is, if this is the front of the jib, the luff, we can also apply downhaul to the jib in the same way that we apply downhaul to the mainsail. So the more we downhaul the jib, the more it's going to flatten the sail. It's also going to open up the back edge more. It's going to help the sail to twist off. And it's really, how do we know how much to downhaul or put tension into the luff of the jib? Okay, it's kind of like a bit of a chicken and egg situation, because as the wind gets stronger, what we want to do with the jib is we want to pull the jib sheet in harder. When we pull the jib sheet in harder, that is kind of pulling the jib down to a certain extent. And if we're pulling the jib in hard enough for the amount of wind, and there's not enough jib luff tension or jib downhaul on, we're going to start getting creases in the front edge of the jib. So if with the jib sheet cranked in for the wind, we're getting these creases, what we need to do is put on more jib luff tension. But just in the mechanics of actually doing it, we can't just put more jib luff tension on if the jib sheet is cranked, because that's going to actually stop us from being able to. So what we have to do is let off the jib sheet, crank the jib Cunningham on, and then pull the sheet back in. Like Cucks Ollie says, but never more tension than the forestay. Absolutely. So this is actually something that you could set on land, is because on a boat like a Tiger, which has got what you could call a soft luffed jib, two types of jib is one that's got a wire luff like in a Hobie 16, and the weight of the rig is held on the luff of the jib. The other type doesn't have a wire luff like on a F18 or on a Tornado, and on those boats the forestay would be running up inside the luff of the jib, and what we want to make sure is the forestay is never looser than the luff of the jib, because if that happened, we would risk firstly stretching the jib, like damaging the shape of the sail permanently, and the second thing we'd risk is actually ripping the sail in half, because we don't want to put the tension of the rig on the jib if it doesn't have a wire luff. All right, so that is jib Cunningham tension. The second thing we could alter is how far the jib traveller goes out. So if this is our this isn't hello. This isn't our a face. This is actually the jib track, because we'll be sailing with a self-tacking jib, and it's kind of like on the 16, any type of boat, as the wind gets stronger and we want the big speeds, but we don't want to stick the nose in, we can let the traveller on the jib go pretty much all the way to the outside. So yeah, jib traveller all the way out. What else can we change? We can change, both do the same thing. So let's just talk about the clew of the jib. So at the clew of the jib, we'd have a clew plate like this, and it would have a number of holes in it. where we can attach the jib sheets. The lower down we attach the jib sheets, that's going to pull the jib more backwards, less down, and that is going to mean that we open the top part of the sail up. So this is what open looks like in the diagram. So that's going to open that up, allowing the jib to twist off, which is going to be better for speed and better for not sticking the nose in. If we have, that isn't necessarily going to be the bottom, that might be one down from the middle, or yeah, which would generally be enough to open that up enough. If we go higher up, like our extreme example would be here, then we're going to be pulling very much downwards with the jib sheet. That's going to give us a very tight leech and quite a lot of curve in the foot, which is a pretty undesirable shape, regardless of what we're doing. The most tension we want in the leech of the jib is actually even to the tension that we have in the bottom. So when we're initially setting where the jib sheets are going to, we want to do that so that the tension is even. And then as the wind increases, we'll just move down one hole to open up the leech a bit, and that's going to make the boat, the jib twist off, which is going to mean it's less likely that the jib is going to backwind the mainsail as well. And then the other thing we can do with the jib is, of course, playing the jib sheet. If you're sailing with a crew if the crew is trimming the jib or on the reaches, then if in an ideal situation, when you get a gust of wind, let's say we're on a speed run, when you get a gust of wind, as well as letting the mainsail off, if the jib can be eased at the same time, then we are winning. Right, I'm going to leave that there, Jens. Hope that is helpful. But then in the super big gust, dumping the jib completely would be very good as well. But I know that on, in fact, most Formula 18s, the way the jib sheets are rigged is kind of more for upwind, downwind, where yes, the crew has access to the jib sheet on the upwind leg, and not so much access to the jib sheet when you're on a fast reach, because you'd be so far back, you wouldn't be able to so well play the jib once you're on that sort of point of sail. All right. By the way, we're over an hour now, so if anybody has got a pressing question that they need to ask, if it could be accompanied by a super sticker or super chat or whatever it's called, that is going to be acceptable. Otherwise, no further questions, please, because I've got a beer in the fridge upstairs and it's calling me. Not going to lie to you. All right, so Derek is with us. Hello, Derek. What are the biggest differences when going from a Hobie 16 to a Hobie 18? All right, yeah, the Hobie 18 has got quite a different feel to the 16, just because of, firstly, the layout. The 16 obviously raised trampoline, 18 not a raised trampoline. So it's you're going to be sat on the hull on an 18, whereas on a 16 you've always been sat on the trampoline. That is one difference. Second difference, on an 18 you're just going to feel that you have got so much volume in the hulls. The boat floats a lot higher, and at first, when you first take an 18 out in strong wind, when you're reaching, you might just start getting carried away thinking, we can drive this in as much as we want. We can really drive the bows in. We are not going to, before you can even say pitch pole, you've stuck the nose in. So yes, we've got so much more volume, but it will still go if you push it too hard. Third difference with the 18, the jib is much, as a percentage of our sail area, the jib is much more significant on an 18. Like what we've been talking about, the crew needs to be more ready to ease the jib in the stronger wind. What else? The yeah, and then the 18 is just, it's a bit easier on the maneuvers, like because we've got the centerboards or the dagger boards, depending on which model you've got, easier to tack. You've got a higher boom, easier to get across the boat. So generally you could that, like if you watched the what was it, the cat knowledge video that I put out, or videos that I put out this week, I did say that the 18 was built as the racing model of Catamaran from Hobie, and also it's more suited to larger or heavier sailors, perhaps even taller sailors. So you will feel more space, more volume on an 18, and yeah, but still very quick. So there you go, Derek. I hope that helps. All right, we've got Chris Kerrison on board. I can't believe it. Yeah, if you saw the cat knowledge chat, the Hobie 14, the picture of the Hobie 14 mid pitch pole, that was this guy, Chris, who now lives in San Francisco. Do you want to come out to San Francisco to watch Sail GP in 3 weeks? Might get you a spin in one of those bad boys. Yes. All right. I'm coming to San Francisco in 3 weeks. Don't tell the wife.com. Yeah, might have to do a bit of, let's say, Chris, that provisionally, yes, I would love to, but in practice, it might be a little bit of a challenge. But yeah, I will certainly have a look into that. I think that would be amazing, no less. But if I don't, then I am due to be in your neck of the woods in June at some point. So I will stay in touch regarding that. Oh, yes. All right. So there we go. I think, oh no, I've got one more preloaded question. This is going to be a relatively quick one. This is from UKB Goldie, who says, why does a wider beam on a boat on a catamaran make it faster? Surely it adds weight to the boat having wider beams. Yes, it will add a bit of weight to the boat, it being wider, but the wider the boat is, if you've got your crew out on the trapeze, he has got more leverage, which means we can keep more power on. That is why a wider boat is faster, because we're able to keep more power on because we've got more leverage. But like I said earlier, with a wider boat, also we've got more control over that angle of heel. So why are all catamarans not so wide? I think I mentioned this in the cat knowledge presentation. It is because to legally tow a catamaran behind a car, it needs to be, I think it's around under 2 meters 50 to tow it flat. And so to sell boats, manufacturers want to make the boats as practical as possible. And so there are fewer boats that are built wider than the legal towing width. Although, yes, you can get a trailer that tilts the boat, but generally catamarans are more practical, being a little bit more narrow even though they're going to be quicker if they are wider. Of course, to justify it being wider, you're going to need bigger sails. There we go. All right. So let's call that a day, shall we? Thanks very much. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't yet seen the Catamaran Knowledge Part 1 and 2 that I released this week, there was a lot of work that went into that. And I am thinking of also releasing it maybe in time for Christmas as a book, like a shiny book to have on your coffee table. That would be nice too, I think. And if you can think of any other ways that I could present this, like maybe I should put it on the website or something so that you can look through, and maybe I'll put a few more infographics in there, then we can do that. But yeah, thanks very much, Joyrider TV. It's your is keeping these videos from happening. So keeping them from happening? No, keeping them coming. That's right. So thanks for your support. Head over to Total Joyrider TV, buy a t-shirt or a hoodie. That's nice too. I can do custom designs. I've got time at the moment. So there we go. And I'll see you soon with some more. If not, I'll see you next Friday with some more of this. Thank you very much.